Here we go. Good evening, everyone. We're going to talk about Rush Creek tonight, and a lot of people know its name truly as Rush Creek 1:1 mineral, and but a lot of people don't know that this particular product has not only those macro minerals, but trace minerals and vitamins also. So it's very broad spectrum. So I'm going to tell you the story behind Rush Creek. We were asked by a particular ranch in Nebraska for help, nutritional support. But they had 135 purebred Arabians at that time. The horses performed ranch work, and they were purchased. These horses were used in competitive and endurance riding. But the problem that they had was epiphysitis, and it was a very terrible issue for their young foals. Epiphysitis is a bone disease of young growing horses. They characterized by enlarged growth plates on the long bones in the leg. The plates of the bones are inflamed, and new tissue cannot harden properly in conjunction with the horse's rapid growth and nutritional imbalance of their feed program. The foals will have difficulty moving, getting up and down, and appear very stiff and sore. And generally, the feed imbalances that kind of cause this problem is excess calcium in the diet, excess protein, and not incorporating a product called Silica, and we'll talk about that later. The name of the ranch, Rush Creek Arabians. Some of the challenges that we had in formulating one product to help this entire herd, as you can see in the background there, this is not the ranch itself. It's very typical of what you would see in the environment there. They had 100 acres of very sparse roughage, as you can see. Range horses, unfamiliar with the comfort of stalls. They are separated into herds of mares and foals and a stallion. The quality and nutrient content of the feedstuffs were inadequate. Thus, we had the epiphysitis, which is a nutritional imbalance. We had diversity of ages, stress levels, stallion, mares, and foals. We had genetics, hormonal changes, obviously, and parasite loads. And another thing that we had to overcome was the weather. In regards to the supplement, there were not barns or run-in sheds for the horses to rescue from the weather, and neither would our supplements have any refuge in that. The horses were eating dirt and manure, licking urine, and if they could find any type of wood or bark, they would consume it. And as we discussed in our last webinar on free choice, when horses exhibit this type of behavior, it's a form of self-supplementation or self-medication. The application of the supplement would be very difficult as well. Our tools were tractor and vehicle tires. The free choice diagnostic kit was unreasonable to manage in this type of environment, and the horses were not able to be individually supplemented. There were salt blocks. We know that salt blocks do not contain vitamin sources. And we took samples of the water sources there so that we could get a complete nutrient spectrum of what they had available to them. They did have access to some creeks and streams, but then also well water in tanks. So as we sat down to put together this single product to help with this ranch, in order for a product to benefit, you have to address bioavailability of the contents of the mineral or the supplement. Bioavailability is a measure of the amount of an ingested nutrient absorbed and made available to the body for metabolic use. And that metabolic use is just all that intricate stuff that goes on inside the horse's body. pH is a factor in the digestive system if things are going to be absorbed and utilized properly. The nutrient concentration and balances need to be taken into consideration of those nutrients, and the types that we used were very important. In our last webinar on free choice, we discussed the carrier. We use a Lactobacillus acidophilus product that stimulates gut digestion and helps assist with pH. We use or also incorporate an enzymatic profile, and our base is also containing organic wheat fiber. And when we're using this type of carrier, we need to reduce the level of the carrier itself so the nutrients themselves can be smelled and tasted by the horse for its consumption. One of the ingredients that we use is monosodium phosphate, very bioavailable phosphorus source. It is a pH buffering agent as well, soluble in water, which is important. Whenever you have a nutrient that's soluble in water, it's very available for the digestive system. We utilize phytase enzymes, which release phosphorus for utilization. And our soils and our hays have a tendency to be lacking in a lot of these nutrients. And I just wanted to say that this is why we kind of had to put this supplement together to kind of balance out their environment. Unfortunately, we do use dicalcium phosphate as a source in this product. The nutrient value is not wonderful. It is less expensive, but we use it somewhat in part of the carrier because it's a granular type product. It can also be so it helps with flowability of the product, so it doesn't just, when we put it out to free choice, we're not going to end up with a just a caked pan of mineral product. The product is also weather sturdy. Calcium carbonate is a natural mined calcium source. It's weather sturdy, and we have to utilize it because there are just not very many choices as far as a source of calcium. Although calcium carbonate is a food additive as a source for calcium, but what we've done is we've added chelates and enzyme to increase the calcium carbonate's bioavailability. On a side note, in 1989, a researcher, Ken Simons, showed that CaCO3, which is calcium carbonate, can actually be added to neutralize the effects of acid rain in river ecosystems and by adjusting the pH factor in the environment. On another note, the body has a self-limiting mechanism to keep the blood pH balanced. If there is too much calcium circulating in the bloodstream, the body actually kicks it out via the elimination organs. Sometimes this is why you will find kidney stones before the calcium has a chance to actually become bone. However, if you have heat and inflammation going on, let's say in a joint area, the unavailable calcium circulating can end up being deposited in that particular area and causing arthritis. So we have a unique enzyme profile, bioavailable sources as much as we possibly can on the calcium phosphorus. These are tools that the horses can utilize to balance highly imbalanced roughage sources, anything from pure alfalfa to a grass forage. What about the 1-to-1 ratio of calcium phosphorus? Everything in nutrition has a ratio for each nutrient to be working with its partner to make it be available in the body. So nutritionists indicate that calcium and phosphorus ratio should be 1 to 1.5 to 1 or a 2 to 1, with calcium being above the phosphorus levels. But grass forages are averaging at a 1 to 1 ratio. Alfalfa will average anywhere from 5 to 1 to 25 to 1. Why do supplements contain more calcium than needed? One, calcium is cheap, and Jim, the owner of the company, and my father, says our horses are the new tools for waste management. And another thought that I have is that joint supplement business is big business. There is so much calcium in our water sources due to an abundance of lime applicated to fields, causing hard water. Phosphorus is expensive. Thus, there's such an imbalance in our soils and water of the calcium-phosphorus ratio. Water needs to be consumed at high levels for horses just to maintain their normal bodily functions at a ratio of, now that you're experts on ratios, a ratio of 4 to 1, so 4 times more water than their next consumed item that they eat most of is hay and roughage. With hard water, the cellular wall is not as pliable or flexible, so nutrients don't move around in the body as well as it could be. Nutrients aren't accepted or received with the strong structural wall. Wastes are not moved away as well, and so even if you have a horse that's been drinking average amounts of water, like a 1,000-pound horse, 500-kilogram horse should be drinking somewhere around 90 pounds or 10 to 15 gallons of water per day, they still may even be dehydrated because of the hardness of the water. I'm going to talk a little bit about silica. A French doctor wrote and studied and explained that the process by which organic silica that is transmuted to calcium in the body. Texas A&M University documented the same thing. It greatly enhances the uptake of calcium into the bone, and widely silica is routinely used for healing bone fractures. So what's interesting about silica is that it not only helps create a bone, but it can create a flexible bone. Calcium creates a hard bone, but silica is what makes that hard bone flex with movement and stress. So in reference to the Rush Creek mineral, we started utilizing it in the early 1980s, and we have tested it and researched it, and now have been able to manage regional variances with forages and waters everywhere. We've added yeast culture into the Rush Creek to stimulate bacteria in the hindgut for the horse. The hindgut is what digests fiber, and if we can increase good bacteria to break down that fiber, and yeast culture is, when supplemented, has been found to do that in a study in 1994. The increase results in more nutrients from the feed being available to the horse. So our goal is to have the horse's digestive system work at its optimum so that it can retrieve, utilize, maintain all those natural occurring vitamins and minerals in your water and in your hay and other foodstuffs before they need to move to a supplement. Now, we're in the supplement business, but supplements are not as available as these natural food sources. So we want to retrieve those before we ask the horse to go to a supplement source, then to balance what they've already taken in. So the yeast culture helps us do that. The digestion of fiber results in the production of extra volatile fatty acids. That is an energy source for our horses. It was reported that, and this is really good information, reported that digestibility of phosphorus improved on an average of 22.3% when horses were fed yeast culture. So an environment where calcium is in excess, when we can find sources that make calcium more available and obviously make phosphorus more available, because generally the calcium sources out there are not as available as they could be. So we have to make adjustments to the feedstuffs to the supplements to help with that. Our sources of yeast culture is non-GMO, and we've worked hard to maintain that. Another term that you've may heard of in the nutrient business is chelation, and I'm going to try and explain it to you here, but chelation actually takes place in the digestive processes in the stomach anyway. It facilitates transportation of nutritional minerals across an intestinal wall. So the stomach has assorted acids and it has an enzyme, pepsin, but there are other enzymes as well. But pepsin actually allows for breakdown of proteins into available amino acid chains. Proteins can be used to be chelated to a nutrient to help with assimilation. Fats can also be tied or chelated to a nutrient, and that makes them also more available. The stomach also absorbs water as well as ions. Ions is another term for sodium and chloride. Ions, they actually promote water movement. Other ions absorbed in much smaller quantities are calcium, potassium, magnesium, iodine, bicarbonate, and iron. And this is why we focus on water so strongly in making sure that our supplements work. If they don't work, a lot of time we fall back on imbalances in the water, not so much as in the forage. And we can make adjustments for that, and Rush Creek doesn't have the ability to do that. So that's why we constantly test water samples. As far as the chelation process, if there's any stress, this is a natural chelation process that would take place in the horse's digestive system. The horse's digestive system is so sensitive, and it responds to any type of stress. And when that happens, its optimum function becomes compromised. And so that's why we have added chelated mineral forms to assure and increase bioavailability. Some of those chelated minerals are iron, zinc, manganese, cobalt, copper are examples. And if we could not find them on the market, we manufactured them ourselves. We generally don't use amino acids because our diets are such in excess of protein, so generally we'll use a fat source as a chelation in our chelation formulations. Other minerals that you will find in the supplement for the ranch was mineral sulfates. They are more bioavailable than oxides. We utilize both for multiple utilization purposes. Other nutrients that we wanted added, there are various vitamins. They're encapsulated so they can handle the weather and the external environment. We have natural sources of vitamins. Natural as opposed to synthetics are more bioavailable. Calcium pantothenate is in the product as well. It synthesizes coenzyme A, metabolizes protein, carbohydrates for fuel, and fats for fuel. It is more stable than a vitamin, just a vitamin pantothenic acid in the digestive tract. So it's just really good to use and allows for better absorption. This particular item actually reduces stiffness, pain severity of arthritis, and improves oxygen utilization in the body. The goal, when we finally came to the end of putting this product together, we ended up with a supplement that was formulated for this ranch but turned into a very complex and balanced mixed mineral. And we discussed mixed minerals as opposed to individual minerals in the free choice seminar, our webinar last week, I believe is when it was. Rush Creek does not contain salt because it's destructive to the vitamin content, and we didn't want to limit consumption of the nutrients, and salt can be a very strong limiter on any mineral. We've added herbals and plant sources, and in this journal it was quoted, consequently mixing nutrients as in a commercial multivitamin preparation should not be expected to provide the necessary nutritional benefits equivalent to their natural herbal sources or in their natural state. Anything in their natural state is more available. So we're going to try and bring, since horses are confined, what we're trying to do is bring their normal environment into their confinement. Some of those plant sources that we use are aloe, tomato pumice, and we like to use apple cider vinegar. We also have a vast array of herbals, and I didn't list them here, but we have cayenne pepper, peppermint, garlic, parsley, dandelion in a couple different forms, and thyme, sweet fennel, basil, sage, cloves. Cloves is extremely helpful for the immune system. We also included bentonites and clays. They're natural sources of trace minerals. They are also detoxifying agents, which is a very good byproduct. Sometimes horses get into something that they may digest or may upset the digestive system a little bit, and so the product can help with that. And it's also providing buffering agents. Several clays and bentonites added. Other information when you're utilizing the Rush Creek supplement, vitamin and mineral supplement, is you need to provide a non-iodized, non-mineralized white salt. It can either be loose or black, but it has got to be available because there's no salt in the Rush Creek. There's also no selenium in this particular product. This product is now dispersed all over the world, and there are some areas that are selenium toxic, and so we removed the selenium just because we didn't want to have that burden if some of this product got into a selenium toxic area. You can still use other salts too if you want to make those available. I like the Himalayan salt licks. I think those are good. You can use sea salt, you can use Redmond salt. But your priority must be to have the non-iodized, non-mineralized white salt out there. When you think about it, about mineral salts and putting out Rush Creek mineral, you're kind of doing the same thing. I mean, really, Rush Creek, we're relying on Rush Creek to supply the animal with all those minerals. Mineral salts have just more minerals. It's not going to hurt to put them out there, but now maybe you can see why white salt is so critical. Also, the minerals in some of those other salts may be limiting agents to the sodium chloride, and sodium chloride just in its own right, as we discussed earlier, as those being ions and what transport nutrients in the body. Rush Creek is a free choice supplement. So you never want to mix it with your food, your feed, any supplements. You don't want to utilize it along with any other supplements as a top dress. And consumption levels will vary. And it will vary upon these assorted things, roughage in food, which we've already discussed, the nutrient content, the quality of it. If you have hard or soft water, and please be cautious, do not use a water softener salt to be the only water source for your horses. Nutrient content, as I just mentioned, of the water, the pH of the water, toxicity levels of food, and the horse, even the horse itself, and the water again, digestive capability of the horse, the age of the horse, the workload or stress level. All these things are going to vary independently the consumption levels of Rush Creek. The health and immune, if they're compromised, if we have hormonal changes, for instance, horses with equine metabolic syndrome, well, their consumption will be higher on Rush Creek than compared to 1,000 or 1,000-pound healthy horse. Then we have environment and seasons and just individual needs and genetic differences. So average consumption is around 2 ounces per horse per day. Initial consumption, once you put this product out, can actually be much higher than that, and we're not concerned about that. If high levels are consumed beyond 30 days, most of the time we're still not concerned about it, but we do need to know about it. But this may indicate that there is water abnormalities. Maybe there's oversupplementation of feeds and or supplements, but you do need to contact someone to let us know that this is going on. It obviously is not cost effective for you. We want the product to work for the horse. Discuss increased levels of consumption either with whoever you bought the Rush Creek from, or even just call us. And on the flip side, if Rush Creek is not consumed at all, this may indicate oversupplementation again, or there may be other possibilities. So just please contact and talk to any one of us here, and they will get you in touch with someone who can help you. I'm here all the time as well, so just call. We want the products to work. The idea that it's a free choice gives the horse an ability to communicate to you and myself, and so we need to try and understand what that horse is trying to tell us. So back to the story on the ranch. Within 1 year, Rush Creek Ranch no longer had foals suffering from epiphysitis with the development of this new vitamin and mineral supplement. Thus, we named this supplement after that ranch. It's called Rush Creek 101 Mineral. I hope that you've learned a lot about the product. If you have any further questions, just give us a call. And I thank you so much for attending this evening. If you have additional questions, please don't hesitate to write those questions in or call.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kendra.
Thanks, Carrie.
We do have a couple questions for you. I'm going to go ahead and send those over to you so you can take a little look at them, and maybe we can get these questions answered for these folks tonight.
Okay. Let's see. My vet says I have to feed a 2-to-1 mineral when I'm on grass. There are a lot of people get posed with this question, but that's why we like the Rush Creek 1-to-1 mineral. It will balance any grass source. And it's just curious if your soils are lacking in calcium, if that's why he would be suggesting that, and quite often that's not the case. And as I mentioned earlier in the webinar, grasses generally do have a tendency to be at a 1-to-1 ratio. If you want to be really exact and you are open to our calcium and phosphorus free choice mixes, offer them independently of each other, let the horse balance calcium to your soils in your hay, and let your horse balance phosphorus for the same reasons. We do offer those macro minerals where they're not mixed together. You can offer them independently of each other. So I hope that answers your question. How do you get your water tested? We can do that for you. Generally, we do that once we've established you as a customer. We will accept responsibility for payment of that once we get down the road and let the horse communicate with us a little bit on how much the Rush Creek mineral they're taking, or if you decide to utilize some of the other individual vitamin and mineral supplements. We want to have the animal kind of talk to us a little bit, but it's wise to do water samples even at some point down the road, because it will surely have an impact on what they free choice. So that's an individual basis. We do have areas where the water is not just nutritionally imbalanced, but they're also battling arsenic and chlorine and fluoride and some of those other things. And if that's the situation that you're presented with, don't hesitate to call us, and we can dig a little deeper into how to resolve those problems for you.